Red shoes. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there was a very cute girl named Karen. She lived in a tiny house with her mother and was a very happy girl. She would ask her mother about everything she was curious about.
Mom, what are these tiny lights in the sky?
They are stars, Karen. Everyone who lives on Earth eventually turns into a star and shines in the sky forever. Karen only had one toy, one dress, and a pair of wooden slippers she wore on the street. The wooden slippers her mother made for her were not very comfortable, but they were the only ones she had. One day, Karen's mother got very sick. So Karen went to town to buy medicine for her mother, and along the way, she found a pair of red shoes in a box on the roadside. The shoes shone so beautifully that Karen couldn't help but bring them home with her.
Look, Mommy, I found these by the roadside. Aren't they beautiful? Just right for me.
These may belong to someone else, Karen. You should immediately take them back.
But if they had an owner, she wouldn't have left them there with the box.
Maybe the owner dropped it accidentally.
Then they shouldn't have dropped it. I found them. They belong to me now. They're mine.
Baby, listen to me carefully. I may not be able to buy you new shoes right now, but I don't want you to wear someone else's shoes just because of that. Please, don't be stubborn. Promise you won't wear these red shoes. Karen sadly promised her mother not to wear red shoes and hid them under her bed. Months passed by until one day Karen came home and couldn't find her mother in the house. She looked all over until she realized that her mother had become a bright star. The next day, on her way to her mother's funeral, Karen put on those red shoes. Those who came to the funeral couldn't take their eyes off Karen's shoes.
How dare she wear red shoes?
So disrespectful.
But Karen did not care because she loved her shoes. A good-hearted old woman passed by the cemetery. This old woman learned that this little girl was now an orphan and wanted to adopt her.
Come with me, pretty girl. I will do my best to make you successful and beautiful when you grow up.
So Karen went to live with the old woman for many years.
Karen, you've been wearing these shoes since your mother's funeral. You need to take them off now. They're so dirty. No, I love my red shoes. Oh, Karen, don't be so stubborn. Come on, change your shoes. I'll buy better shoes, I promise.
Karen did not want to offend the old woman who had been so kind to adopt her. So she finally took off her red shoes and threw them away. Days passed until one day, Karen was playing in her new room with her new clothes and toys, and the old woman brought her a new pair of shoes. But Karen didn't like these shoes at all.
But these are blue. Very ugly. I don't like them at all.
So for years to come, Karen missed her red shoes a lot. She grew into a beautiful young lady, but her stubborn attitude never changed. Even when the old lady brought her gifts.
I don't want to wear this thing, but I knit this for you.
I'll never eat this food. Make me French fries.
At least take a little bite, darling.
The old woman was very upset when Karen got up from the table without having a meal. She made French fries for her and took them to her room. At that time, Karen was taking off her blue shoes.
Look, see?
All my things are so small now. I've grown up.
Well, come on then. Let's buy you new clothes and shoes.
Then the old woman and Karen went to the store. Oh, look! Just like my favorite red shoes. I must have them. Let's get these.
Karen, you don't need fancy red shoes. You need shoes that you can wear respectfully. Like, if we need to go to a funeral. I can only buy you one pair of shoes. Let's buy those black ones and go home. I am very tired.
I don't care. If you don't buy both shoes, I'll walk barefoot everywhere from now on.
Little girl, I wish you weren't so stubborn.
The old woman bought the black shoes for Karen and spent the last of her money to appease her with the red sparkly shoes, too. They had to walk home on foot. The old woman's feet hurt a lot along the way, and she could not keep up with the spoiled Karen. And Karen didn't care. She walked on home with her new red shoes. One day, the old woman told Karen that they needed to attend a funeral in town.
Karen, be sure to put on your black shoes. Otherwise, it will be disrespectful at the funeral.
Karen looked at the black shoes in her room, and then at the bright red ones. She chose to put on the red shoes. When they left the house, she covered them up with her skirt, so the old woman would not see the shoes. However, at the funeral, everyone saw Karen's shoes, shining brightly under her skirt. They spoke amongst themselves about Karen's red shoes at the funeral and about how disrespectful the shoes were. When what was said came to the old woman's ear, she got very angry.
You didn't listen to what I told you, and you put on the red shoes again. You're so stubborn, Karen. Show some respect.
A handsome young lord passing by at that time was struck by Karen's beauty. He came to her and went down on his knees and gave her compliments.
How beautiful you are, and so delicate in these beautiful shoes.
My lord, you make me blush.
You must be a very good dancer. I invite you to the dance night in the palace tonight. Please come.
With the happiness of the Lord's offer, Karen started dancing with joy. But after a while, Karen couldn't stop dancing. Why can't I stop my feet? What is happening? Oh! Karen started walking away from the old lady and the Lord while she was dancing.
Karen, come back.
Even though the Lord chased Karen for a while, he lost her. Karen's red shoes turned out to be more stubborn than Karen. They took her until top of the mountain and made her dance day and night for 3 days. Karen's feet hurt so much that she screamed at every step. Even though they got into the mud and prickly needles stuck, the shoes kept dancing. Enough! I'm very tired. I won't be so stubborn from now on. I promise. Please stop. Shoes, please stop. Stop. And when Karen said she'd give up all her stubbornness, the red shoes jumped off her feet, and Karen, too, fell to the ground. And the red shoes kept on dancing without her. Karen found a stick and managed to limp home in pain. Her legs hurt a lot. She started to cry with happiness when she saw her house. The old woman greeted her at the door. They hugged each other. I know I was a very stubborn girl, but I promise I won't be like that anymore. After Karen gave up her stubbornness, things started to get better. One day, someone knocked on the door. It was the young and handsome Lord.
Oh, there you are, Karen. I tried to keep up, but you danced so fast. How did you do that?
Karen was glad to see the handsome and young Lord. That was the day the Lord and Karen's love began, leaving stubbornness behind. Karen lived a happy and peaceful life.
Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, lived an amazingly beautiful girl. Cinderella's mother had passed away a very long time ago. This is why her father had brought her up. One day, when Cinderella's father remarried, her life had changed dramatically. Her father's new wife and her two stepsisters had moved to Cinderella's house. Since the first time they met, her stepmother couldn't stand the sight of Cinderella. She and her two daughters were extremely jealous of Cinderella's beauty and kind heart. Cinderella's stepsisters were not beautiful as she was, and besides, they were rude and spoilt. One day, due to work reasons, Cinderella's father had to leave on a long journey. And that was the time when Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters turned her life into a living hell. While Cinderella was in the garden talking to her very beloved birds, her stepmother approached her.
As of today, you will live in the attic. You will do all the housework. Also, I don't want you walking around in these clothes.
Cinderella didn't know what to say. Helplessly, she did what she was told. She packed her stuff and moved to the attic. After that day, Cinderella began to do all the housework all on her own. She used to get very tired, but neither her stepmother or her stepsisters felt sorry for her.
Wipe the floor again. Can't you see it's still dusty? You haven't done the laundry. I have nothing proper to wear.
Cinderella had no friends other than the mice and the birds that used to come to her window. Due to the cold, secretly at night time, Cinderella would go downstairs to the chimney and warm up near the dying fire and fall asleep. As the days went on by, one day in the town, an announcement was made by the kingdom.
Our prince will be holding a ball at the castle. All the girls who are eligible for marriage are invited to this ball.
As soon as the stepsisters heard about this invitation, they ran home and told their mother.
You will be the most beautiful girls at the ball. The prince must pick one of you. That way we will all live in the palace, right, Mother? We must get some gowns and shoes for you girls. Move along, we're going shopping.
The stepmother and stepsisters left the house. Hearing all that was talked about, with a sad face, Cinderella stood there and watched. The preparations went on for days. Both the stepsisters had their gowns sewn. Every day they would go in front of the mirror and tell themselves, "We will be the most beautiful girls in the ball." Finally, the big day had arrived. The stepsisters had woken up very early that morning, and so they called Cinderella.
Cinderella, Cinderella, hurry and come here. Where have you been? Hurry and prepare our bath.
All day, Cinderella helped her stepsisters get ready.
Hey, brush it gently. You're going to pull it out.
Towards the evening, they had finished all their preparations for the ball.
You look beautiful, girls. Just beautiful.
Cinderella built up all her courage and asked her stepmother, "Can I come to the ball too, please?"
Who, you?
Yes, well, it says that all the young girls can come.
Is this your dress for the ball? The prince is looking for a wife, not for a maid, my dear. Come on, girls, let's not be late for the ball. And you make sure that you've finished all the chores before you go to bed.
Her stepmother and her stepsisters made their way to the castle. And all on her own at home, Cinderella began to cry. Why can't I go to the castle too? If my parents were here, none of this would have happened. Right at that moment, a very bright light appeared. At first, Cinderella did not understand what it was. She was staring at the light. Then suddenly, a beautiful fairy appeared in the middle of the light. "My beautiful Cinderella, don't cry. You too will go to the ball at the castle." Cinderella could not believe her eyes. She asked in shock, "Can I go? Just look at me." "Do not worry. I'm here to help you. Now bring me a pumpkin and 7 mice." Cinderella could not understand why she wanted these things, but still she did as she was told. First, she went to the kitchen and grabbed a big pumpkin. Then she went to the attic, got her mice friends, and went down again. With her magic wand, the fairy turned the pumpkin into a beautiful horse carriage. Then she turned to the mice. One of them turned into the driver, and the other 6 of them turned into beautiful white horses. Amazed as she was, Cinderella was looking at the horse carriage. The fairy turned to her. When she touched her with the magic wand, Cinderella's old dress turned into a beautiful ball gown. And the slippers on her feet turned into beautiful glass shoes. "I look like a princess." "Now it is time to go to the ball, but don't forget, you must be home when the clock strikes 12, because by then everything will turn back to what they were." Cinderella listened to the fairy very carefully. Then she hopped on her carriage and started to ride towards the castle. Her mesmerizing carriage stopped in front of the castle. When Cinderella entered through the grand doors to the ballroom, all the eyes were on her. She looked so beautiful and elegant. Her stepmother and even her stepsisters could not stop looking at this beautiful lady. They, of course, could not recognize her. Suddenly, the prince appeared on the stairs. Cinderella really stood out amongst all the young women at the ball. The prince fell in love with the first sight of this beautiful young woman. With everyone watching curiously, he began walking down the stairs and slowly approached her. The stepsisters were very excited because the prince was coming towards them.
Ah, he's coming to me. Now he's coming to me.
But the prince passed on by and stopped in front of Cinderella.
Most beautiful young lady, would you please allow this dance to me?
Cinderella nodded politely. The prince and Cinderella began to dance amongst the curious looks of all the invitees. Cinderella was so captivated by the music and the dance, she felt like as if she and the prince were the only ones in the ballroom. They danced non-stop all night long. course, Cinderella could not feel how time had passed. At some point, the big clock caught her eye. It was almost midnight. Right at that moment, Cinderella remembered the fairy's warning. You must be home when the clock strikes 12, because by then everything will turn back to what they were. With a panic, Cinderella began to run and left the prince behind. When she was running down the stairs of the castle, she dropped one of her shoes, but she did not even have time to go back and collect it. When she ran further, the clock struck midnight and everything turned back to what they were before. When the prince went out after her, he spotted her shoe on the stairs.
Find the owner of this shoe, even if you have to get all the girls in the kingdom to try it. Just find her.
Cinderella came home breathless and went straight up to the attic. She started thinking about the night she had with the prince. She knew she had no chance, but still, she had fallen in love with him. It was almost impossible for the prince to find her, and even if he did, he would never recognize her. The prince's men went door to door to every house in the kingdom and looked for the young girl who owned this shoe. But the shoe did not fit any of these girls. In the end, the prince's men came by Cinderella's house. Cinderella was very happy to see the king's carriage in front of the house. Right when she was about to leave her room, her stepmother appeared at the door.
And where do you think you are going? You want to try the shoe too?
With a sarcastic laugh, the stepmother locked the door to the attic. No, please stop! Open the door, please!
How pathetic! What would the prince have in common with you?
The men first let the old skinny sister try the shoe, but it was too small for her feet.
Look how beautifully it fit my foot.
Then the younger chubby sister tried the shoe, but her chubby foot did not even get in the shoe.
Maybe if we tried it on my other foot?
Whatever they did, it just would not work. Finally, Cinderella's last try was to run to the window, but it was too high. So she began crying. Seeing her crying, her mice friends came next to her. My stepmom locked me in. She must have the key. One of the mice slipped underneath the door and ran downstairs. The stepmother was at the door with the prince's men.
Why don't you come tomorrow? Today they are a little tired. Their feet must be swollen.
The mouse jumped on the stepmother's skirt and, snatching the keys out of her pocket, ran upstairs. He slipped the keys under the door. Cinderella was very happy when she saw the key. Opening the door, she ran down as fast as she could.
How did you get out?
Please stop, don't go. I want to try the shoe too. The stepmother and her two daughters started to laugh hysterically.
Please shush. It is the prince's orders that every girl in the kingdom must try the shoe.
When Cinderella tried the shoe on, everybody was in shock because it fitted her perfectly.
Young lady, are you the owner of this shoe?
Cinderella nodded to confirm.
Please come to the palace with us.
Cinderella went to the castle with the prince's men, and they took her in front of the prince. Right when he looked in her eyes, the prince knew it was her who danced with him that night. He held her hands.
I finally found you, my princess. Would you marry me?
With teary eyes from happiness, she accepted the prince's offer. They got married and lived happily ever after.
The Little Mermaid and Disappearing Fish. Once upon a time, Aria, the most beautiful mermaid in the world of the oceans, and her dear prince Edward got on a cruise ship and sailed to faraway seas. The journey was so lovely that the beauty of the morning sun fascinated everyone.
My prince, I could just sail with you in this beautiful ocean for the rest of my life.
Edward and Aria picked tropical fruits from every island they visited. Pineapple, mango, coconut, papaya, pitaya, raspberry, banana, lemons, and more. Dozens of the most delicious fruits in the 7 seas. They were going to present these fruits to the people in their homeland when they returned to the castle. One day, when the prince and the little mermaid Aria were looking at the ocean, they noticed that in the water there were no ocean creatures.
My princess, we haven't seen any fish in the ocean for days. I wonder why.
Yes, I noticed. My friend Dolphy has not been around for a few days.
Worried about the undersea world, the little mermaid decided she should go investigate the underwater kingdom and check in on her family and friends. Prince Leo walked her to the bow of the ship. Aria became worried.
My prince, if I don't come back by sunset, there is definitely something dangerous going on underwater.
Little Mermaid Aria walked to the end of the ship and leapt into the sea. As soon as she dove into the water, her human legs magically turned back into a mermaid tail. Aria swam swiftly through the water towards the deep sea kingdom, but she could not see any fish friends around. The sea felt too still. As she came near, she called out her best fish friends.
Dolphy! Willie! My crab friends, where are you?
But no one responded. Aria could not hear anything other than the sound of the sand and the water, the magnificent deep sea kingdom, and the whole shimmering blue sea looked calm and empty. The little mermaid Aria swam towards a seashell in the sand. Seashells magically recorded every sound and every wave in the underwater world, just like a diary. Aria put the seashell to her ear and started to listen to the things that had happened.
It was a bright and fun day in our underwater home. Colorful fish, dolphins, jellyfish were active and cheerful. As the sunlight filtered through the water onto the sea floor, the evil witch Vega and her assistant Snake came. I heard them making plans to steal the kingdom's treasure so that Vega could establish her own kingdom, away from King Poseidon and his family. Then Vega and Snake met with the shark gang and they disappeared. I started moving forward in the sand to convey what I heard to the king, but I was stunned at what I saw. A huge fishing net slowly descending into the water. I was afraid, so I hid myself right away.
Aria could not believe the things she heard. She left the seashell where it was and immediately went to look for the fishing net. After swimming a little, she came across a huge fishing net full of sea animals, and her best friend, Dolphy, was in it.
Oh, Dolphy, I finally found you. Aria, hurry up! Save us now! There are 2 other big fishing nets like this one.
While the mermaid was thinking of a plan to save them, Prince Edward was on his ship, waiting for her to reply. She had been gone a long time, so Prince Edward was worried. He pulled out the magic sea dust and swallowed it, and then jumped into the water. As soon as he was in the water, the prince's human legs turned into a tail. Then he started to swim with all his might to look for Aria. Meanwhile, the little mermaid was struggling to bring all 3 large fishing nets together. And she noticed that Vega and Snake were in one of these fishing nets.
Vega? Snake? How did you get caught in these nets? I don't believe it.
What are you doing underwater? I thought you left to be a human.
It doesn't matter. I won't leave my fish friends. I came to save you.
To save us? You?
She said she'd save us.
She said so. Did not you hear it, Snake?
All your arms are stuck in the nets, Vega. You'll never get out of there without help.
That's what you think.
The evil sea witch was proud and tried to get free without any help. But she was not successful.
Snake, help me. Pull my 4th arm quickly.
Your Majesties.
Use both of your heads, you idiot.
We can't make it, Your Majesty.
Vega, stop! You're making it even worse.
While the mermaid tried to warn Vega, the fishermen threw another net from above. And unfortunately, the mermaid also became stuck in this net.
I got caught! No! Ow! I should have been watching for more nets.
Don't move, Aria. You're going to be stuck more. I will get out of here before you and destroy the entire kingdom.
While Mermaid Aria was struggling in the net, Prince Edward arrived.
Edward! Edward! We're here!
The prince, with all his strength and his handy dagger, saved Aria from her net right away.
We've got to stop the pirate fishermen, Princess. Let's hurry, or they'll throw more nets.
Wait here. We will save you.
The mermaid followed the net's rope and swam up so quickly that Prince Edward had a hard time catching up to her. They knew they needed to stop the pirate fishermen quickly before they could drop more nets. Aria came to the surface of the water and shouted at the fishermen.
Hey! Pirate fishermen! You cannot throw nets in the oceans. There are thousands of sea creatures living below. You mustn't harm them.
The pirate fishermen ignored Aria and tried to throw another net into the ocean. Aria, on the other hand, put her hands together and leapt into the air.
It's a mermaid!
The pirates who saw this were scared and amazed when they saw the mermaid.
Hey, look! She's floating! She's like flying!
Aria's magical power over the ocean created huge waves and strong winds and sent the ship of the pirate fishermen far away from their nets and the underwater kingdom. Prince Edward worked fast to cut off the nets, and the underwater creatures were freed. Of course, there were a few wicked creatures that fled right away and didn't even give the prince and Aria a thank you. Even though she had been saved, Vega was furious that the mermaid Aria had been the one to save her.
Your Majesties. The Little Mermaid really saved us, right?
We may have been saved thanks to her, Snake, but this will never change my mission. I will destroy that kingdom, and all treasure will be mine!
The fish friends of the Little Mermaid thanked her and the prince for being saved.
We will always be the protectors of the underwater world. Don't worry.
And the sea creatures promised to protect Aria and Edward's ship forever. And once again, the ocean's creatures swam freely in the deep blue water, thanks to the good hearts and courage of Aria and the prince. Peace ruled in the underwater kingdom and spread around the earth. And they lived happily ever after.
Here's my home, deep blue sea. Everything is fun, friends with me. The king called me the Little Mermaid, the very best daughter of the king of the sea. Just look around, you will see the joy, a beautiful life, and the ocean roar. Just look around, you will see the joy, a beautiful life, and the ocean roar. Octopus and dolphins are all around. Now we are dancing in the moonlight. The deep blue sea is my safe place, where my family is hidden from the waves. Just look around, you will see the happy